Hello everyone, here we are again today for another episode of Ask Wine by Alex. So it's finally springtime over there, we're out of lockdown and we have the warm weather and everything that comes with it, and that, my friend, calls for Provence rosé. Now, when we talk about Provence, it's mostly synonymous with pale pink rosé. And this is a reason about that. It's because most of these wines will come from Côte de Provence AOC. So it's the most known AOC with 90% of the total production, and it counts around 20,000 hectares under vine. So that's a huge wine region. However, today I don't want to talk about Côte de Provence Rosé. I want to talk about another appellation that is a little bit lesser known and much smaller as well. And this appellation is Les Baux de Provence AOC. So Les Baux de Provence is located over there in blue, and it's in the northwest of Coteaux d'Aix-en-Provence, which is another appellation that is quite well known. And it's on the east side of the Rhône River. So it's actually located between the Rhône River, which is over there, and Coteaux d'Aix-en-Provence, which is located over there. So Les Baux de Provence is actually a band of 30 kilometers, and it encompasses 8 different villages. In total, you have 243 hectares under vine, and these 243 hectares are divided between 12 estates only. Now for the history part about Les Baux de Provence is actually small villages that dates back from the 13th century, and it's a spectacular and really famous village in Provence. It's one of the most beautiful villages in France. This is a label that we have in France to reward the most beautiful villages or cities. So today it consists mainly of ruins or fortifications, and it's located on a steep hilltop from the Alpine chain, and it's located at about 300 meters above sea level. And this small village of Les Baux de Provence actually gave its own name to the AOC for wines, which has been created in 1995. So Les Baux de Provence AOC was actually part of Coteaux d'Aix-en-Provence AOC before 1995, and it was actually seeded from Coteaux d'Aix-en-Provence, and it has now much stricter rules. So as all of you know, Provence has a warm Mediterranean climate with adequate rainfall for viticulture. Les Baux de Provence is actually inland, so it's actually slightly warmer and wetter as the rest of the region. So the rain will fall mostly in winter, and what makes it warmer than the rest of the region is that you have the Mediterranean Sea that reflects on the vineyard, and you have also most of the vineyards located on south-facing slopes. In addition to that, you have more than 3,000 hours of sunshine each year. Now on to viticulture. Vineyards in Les Baux de Provence AOC are located on the Alpine foothills, and they will be mostly north-facing or south-facing. So north for more cold, and south-facing to enjoy the warm climate. But a very important factor about Les Baux de Provence AOC is the cold Mistral wind that comes from the north. Mistral is a strong wind that will dry out the vines whenever you have rain before that. So that would be really nice to avoid fungal diseases. And it's a cold wind, so it's a cooling influence for this area that is mainly warm and hot for viticulture. These cooling influences will allow a good viticulture of quality. And something that is really interesting is that Les Baux de Provence AOC is actually farmed 100% organically, sustainably, or biodynamically. In fact, growers from the AOC have gathered together and asked and requested to be recognized as the first AOC with regulations stipulating that you have to farm your vines 100% organically to be able to use this AOC. So far, it has been unsuccessful though. So let's see what happens in the future. Now let's dive in the styles of the wines. So what is really unusual for Provence is that red wines in les Baux De Provence Aoc are the main part of the production, with 48% of the total production. So part of the requirements for red wines is that Grenache, Syrah and Mourvèdre must actually make at least 60% of the blend. The wine must be a blend, and then you have secondary varieties that you can use, which are Cinsault, Counoise, Carignan and Cabernet Sauvignon. For the latter, Cabernet Sauvignon must make only 20% maximum of the blend. Red wines from les Baux de Provence Aoc will mostly be fruity, full-bodied with smooth tannins. You will have aromas of black fruits, spice, garrigue and sometimes chocolate. The red wines are really intense and dense, but they are also really elegant and with a bit of freshness. They are wines that you have to keep in your cellar with a very good aging potential. Now let's move on to the second main part of the production, which is rosé. So rosé used to make 1/5 of the total production, but today it makes 45% of the total production of the AOC. Another time you have to make a blend to be within the regulations, and these blends will have to be made from, again, Grenache and Syrah. And then the third variety will be Cinsault instead of Mourvèdre in the red wines. Most rosé wines are made through the saignée method, which is why you will have a wide range of color intensity between your wines. The rosé are really balanced, complex and fresh. You will have mostly aromas of red fruits and spice. They are gastronomic wines that you will mostly have to enjoy with food. Moving on to finish with white wines. So white wines in les Baux de Provence AOC represents only a small part of the production, it's only 7%. White wines will have to be a blend of Clairette, Grenache Blanc and Vermentino, which is actually called Rolle in the south of France. But producers are allowed to include other grapes again, so that would be Roussanne, Marsanne, Bourboulenc and Ugni Blanc. White wines from the AOC are really rich wines, but they have also great minerality and freshness to it. They are quite vivid. You will find mostly notes of citrus fruits, peach, sometimes exotic fruits as well. White flowers, you could find honey also according to the method of production. What is quite nice and add to the complexity would be that it has a slightly bitter finish on the palate. So they are aromatic wines that you could easily pair with food or just have fresh as an aperitif. So there you are guys, now you know more about this little known but very fantastic appellation of Provence. I hope you will get to try some this summer for a change of your regular Côte de Provence. After this quick introduction about les Baux de Provence AOC, we'll move on in my next post with a more mouth-watering approach. So that would be tasting notes, which is, in my opinion, one of the most exciting steps when discovering an AOC. I will post tasting notes with a few of the 12 estates from the appellation, and I will focus mainly on the white and the rosé wines because we're entering spring and summer, so maybe that will be what will interest you the most. So that's it guys, I hope you like this video and I will see you soon. Bye bye.